you're the first one in person, because some of them haven't even been Winnipeggers, or have been outside of the city and that. So we can talk more about that later. Just trying to figure out where the best spot. I didn't know if the bowls was distracting, but they might have to be there.
I can always come up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So hello everybody. We are here trying to get the devices to cooperate. There we go. Oh, we already got anybody there. And we are here with Alan Sideen, local artist here in Winnipeg. And sorry about that. It doesn't stand very well. Yeah, maybe I don't need it at the corner since you moved up, but I think the cord is pulling it. So the YouTube version we can edit this out a bit easier, but center does work. What do you know? I didn't think it would get us both. So anyway, Alan Sideen here. Him and I met at the first kind of outdoor, or the first gig thing that we did, that we were able to do, or that me and Glenn did, since the pandemic. And it was at St. Boniface, and there was musicians, and he was doing caricatures. And a lady, I don't know if Svetlana is a mutual of ours or not, but she had said, you know, why don't you go get one? And I says, how much is it? And she said, oh, he's doing them for free. And she says, I don't think people know that. They should announce it or whatever. But you did pretty well that night.
Yeah.
And I think you came back for one of the other ones too.
They had those events going on for 4 weeks, and I got each Friday night, and also last summer.
Yeah. And if we had known that spring was, or fall was going to seem so summer-like, I don't know, they may have done more, but I think they did their last one. And yeah, so then we connected. I guess that would be a good opportunity. Hopefully Glenn's piano's still hearable in the background. Oh, that's right. The only thing is, this webcam is a bit sensitive to things like the fans, so hopefully the window will be good. Anyway, here is what he did as we get a view in the corner of me and Glenn, or England. And yeah, so I guess in no particular order, I guess but the kind of question that comes to mind that I know I wanted to ask was actually when we first met, one of the questions I even wanted to ask before we planned doing this was the connection to his icon there, this really nice paper that he does these on, is Uncle Louie, yeah, and that even shows in the right direction too. And I was just wondering if there was a connection to you as an artist with that character, or?
As an artist, we all got to find a logo or something to make us stand out.
That's true.
Like when you think of Charlie Brown, who do you don't think of Charles Schultz readily, do you? No, you think of Snoopy and the Linus and so on. And I thought, well, who am I going to do? And it was funny where I was working. This would be 2007. The company said, "Hey, Alan, why don't you do a cartoon character of something?" And I thought of the industry, because at that time I was starting to collect cartoons out of the local newspaper, Winnipeg Free Press, and I would cut them.
I just found an old photo album of a bunch of clippings that I guess Glenn's former partner did. You know,
yeah.
Put them into an album. Have a line of his copies there.
So I collected. I got 3-inch ring binders. I got about 13 of them, and
wow.
paid through every day.
More than I used in school, I think.
Well, I cut them out daily for about 4 years, whatever, and just to find out how to draw cartoons. But I thought, you know what, what's my cartoon going to be? So I thought, well, what's a millwright do? So there was a millwright where I used to work. And
okay.
So I asked him, I says, well, what's a millwright do? And he says, well, we're a jack of all trades and so on. So I thought, bingo, that's
so
good. Yeah. So I thought, well, why don't I do that? Because that's going to give me more storylines to do, right? Electrical or carpentry, whatever the case, mechanical. So
because you are a handyman also by trade.
Yeah, learning how to do that, and that's fun. So I thought, how about Owie, Louie? And the company said, no, we're safety. We're all about safety. We don't like Owie. And I says, okay.
Is that French for something?
Or
is it just?
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was a character we lovingly called Uncle Louie where we worked. So I says, okay, how about Uncle Louie the millwright? So I had him trademarked and whatnot. And I just started to learn how to draw the cartoons as I went. And because I taught for a number of years from the year 2000 until 2017 and lately, teaching night school solely for beginning artists.
Right, which is something I definitely want to talk about as well. But yeah, I think, I hadn't even thought about that. I think a lot of us whether we want to become an artist or not, we look at those comic strips, and whether we just enjoy the comic strips or we try and draw them, cartoonery, I don't know if that's the word, cartooning, it's like there is a skill to it, I think, definitely, and there's different styles in that, but I think that it's a little bit more easy than realism. Like, my proportions when I would try to draw certain things would look a little funny, but, you know, you can also do that. Like, this is kind of, I would say, a mix between a caricature and realism. Like, some, you know, and if you look close, you know, I've got a, what do you call it, a, I was going to call it tartan, like a hatchery, whatever you want to call it, beard, which isn't quite accurate, but, you know, it worked, and that, and, need to draw some teeth in, though, because I have to do some dental surgery. I don't want to be teethless. No, but, you know, he did that on the spot, and we were also enjoying musical entertainment and that. So, and I remember one thing that stood out from when you were doing it. First of all, a technique I noticed that he did was he got kind of a mental image of us, and then he engaged with us, like what I try and do with the podcast. So it wasn't like, you know, people that just say, don't move, you know, don't do anything with your face, just, you know. So that was nice. And you had also said that you learn by doing. And I think that that is really powerful, because some of us learn best that way. You know,
baptism by fire.
Like when I was in high school, we had a lot of shop classes, and I missed them. And but I moved to a different province after. But it was kind of like, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, so many jobs, they expect you to already have it. Well, how about hire us and show us, and then we'll have it, you know? So, so yeah, and it's trial and error, it's practice. And I know one thing I was going to ask, I'm kind of going a little out of order, but you had a motto that said something to the effect of there's no mistakes or something like that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I'm so glad you brought that up. I teach a private lesson, and it's the young girl, 6 years of age. And she was so scared about making mistakes. I would draw a cartoon character, and she says, wow, you did that so fast, that's so good. And so I went on to things. I says, from now on, when you sit down to draw, at the top of the page, write, it's okay to make mistakes. So every class, I get the young 6-year-old girl, and now I teach for a local art store here in Winnipeg on Tuesday nights, Artist Emporium.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, and I get the adults, doesn't matter what age group, senior adults, whatever, to write, it's okay to make mistakes. We live in a world where if we make a mistake, we feel like such a zero, and it's
especially
just
for perfectionism, which doesn't exist. Yeah.
And it's so hard on people, and so I purposely say it's okay to make mistakes because our expectations are so high.
Anything, yeah.
And I got to learn to simmer them down.
I think a lot of times too, we see really, really skilled artists, and I guess, you know, we expect that right away. Well, it doesn't look like that, I guess I'm not good, you know. So yeah, he brought some art, and oh, isn't that ironic? I think my grandparents used to have that book, and I have it somewhere, that exact book.
Do you?
Did you do art in that?
No, this is, believe it or not, I was down in Neverville in a thrift store.
Okay.
And one man's junk is another man's treasure.
Yeah, we have a garage full of stuff we can show you later that we're trying to get rid of.
Well, I bought this for 25 cents, and when I saw the cover, I knew who this was, so I'm going to put that up there.
My only thought was I almost used one of those porcelain mugs from Tim Hortons today, and then I thought, oh, would I be allowed to show that on screen?
Oh.
So we didn't, you know, we're not meaning to break any rules.
So I found this, and I bought it, and this is one of, this is Charles Schultz. Now, talk about making mistakes.
This is Art Linkletter.
Yeah, he wrote it.
Okay.
And he asked
based
Charles
on that
Schultz,
TV show.
Yeah, to Drew. Yeah. And in here is Charlie Brown, actually with hair. And in here is actual parents of Charlie Brown. And that's
that
the
most of
time.
us probably haven't seen.
So why I brought this up is our cartoon characters, they change over time because our skills change over time. And I'm just looking through here to see if I can find how Charlie Brown.
I thought I had a pen in here. You don't have. You probably have one on you, right?
Oh yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to do my best here to find Charlie Brown. But he has changed over the years.
I used to do a cartoon fairly often when I used to doodle just something like this: 2 eyes, a giant nose, a face right, or a smile right under it, and 2 feet coming off of it.
And
we got a viewer in the corner. Don't be shy. Feel free to put a question too, and we can try and include them either live or after.
Welcome. Good to see you out.
I just want to be careful about the.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, it's. But that's so cool that you brought that. I haven't seen that book in a long time.
No,
Maybe you ended up getting it. I don't remember selling it though. So, but yeah. So anyway, so you're mostly self-taught. I think you had also said. So around when did you start doing art, and can you explain some about the process that you use? What process is?
This would be in mid-1990s. I was starting to get the itch, so how I was learning is I'd pick up a pencil and I would learn how to draw a chair. And that's how I started off. So anyways, life went on and I developed from there. So it was in 1998, I had to move out of Winnipeg to Regina for a job. They said, you want a job, you got to move to Regina.
Yes, if you can do it, I guess. And
so I did.
Yeah.
And you and I, we work hard for our employer, and you folks out there, we work hard for our employer. And I thought, I'm worth a half hour to do what I always want to do. So
just a plug. I don't have an employer currently. It's self-employed, but I'm keeping the options open as much as possible. Anyway.
Right.
Go on.
So I was living in the apartment. I didn't have a stick of furniture in there. I just slept on the carpeted floor. And I thought, I'm worth to do a half hour of what I want to do. So I had a book, and it was How to Draw Lifelike Portraits, written by Lee Hammond. And a really good book. And I thought, I'm going to start. So I looked up, and 3 hours went by just like that. And that's when I knew I was hooked. I found my gifts and whatnot. So I'm 58 right now. 1998 was what, 23 years ago. So yeah. So I would have been what, 38 or whatever the case. So I'm sort of a late bloomer.
I've always been.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah.
And I was never a kid in high school where I knew my gifts. When I was in high school, when I graduated in grade 12, year 1982. I had 18 or 19 applications at the local Red River College here in Winnipeg for 18 or 19 different professions to get trained up in. So from then, I was in and out of work. I was hired. I was getting fired. I didn't really have a clue what to do. Mid-1990s, declared bankruptcy. And anyways, I went to school for sales, administration, marketing, full-time for a year. I still didn't have a clue what to do. I was still in and out of work, getting hired, getting fired. So 2 weeks before Christmas.
That's hard to go through so much of that.
Yeah. 2 weeks before Christmas of going into the year 2000, I got fired again, released, right, upside, downside, all over, whatever. And I thought that was a straw that broke the camel's back. So I went to the Grain Exchange building here in Winnipeg. It's downtown. And I rented off a little office, if you will. It's a little bit bigger than your room. It's the size of a master bedroom in a house. And I would just teach myself how to draw portraits from those little photos from your wallet that you use for driver ID, whatever, right? And that's how I draw. And at the time, to make extra bucks, I started to teach at night school specifically for beginners, and I was just meeting excellent people. And at that time, I started to get into the Word. And in the Word, it says, "You see a man skilled in his or her craft, he will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men or women." And I was a late bloomer, so for all you folks,
we all start obscure though, right?
Yeah,
somewhat,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what to do, and whatever you think of, whatever you daydream about, whatever you eat, whatever you dream about, inhale, whatever you're dreaming about, that's probably where your giftings are. Okay, and develop them. Now, it's one thing to find your skills. It's another thing to develop them, and it's another thing to make $1 out of them. And that's going to take many, many years, Corey. People think, well, I'm going to become self-employed. Well, you got to develop your skills. People always say, wow.
Depends on the person. There's a bit of a luck streak, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about this being organic too, because there's always things that kind of come up that you don't plan for, right? And so, I mean, and some of it may come back later. But one thing that I thought of is not that long ago, something you were saying. I think you were talking about, you are teaching too. Glen's close to your age, and he was saying, he went to school in a small town, but he was saying that he was the only male in his art class. And I graduated high school in 2005, and I'm thinking I only ever knew it mixed. So it's like how art classes in the school system change over the years. Your coffee's in here. I don't know if it's mandatory or not. I don't remember, but and even that, I wouldn't have thought of it as a shop class, but it's something I miss and maybe should get back into. So it's nice that he does these art instructions on his Facebook page there, and that. And what do you most enjoy about teaching and instructing besides seeing people kind of grow? Is there other things that you appreciate about it?
This doesn't happen very often, but every now and again, it's very far and few between, but I'll find somebody that found their style so readily, so early into their art career. Boy, is that ever refreshing. And, let's say out of 10 people, 10 students, 2 or 3 could be, talented in it. The other 7%, the 7 out of 10, they have to develop it. Maybe 1 out of 100, it's not their cup of tea. They have trouble drawing stickmen, but I don't tell them that.
I remember the most recent video I saw of yours. You said something about a stick figure, and it turned into a bird, and I was like, metamorphosis, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and it flew away, the bird. But
yeah. So you do cartoon type stuff, but I think I noticed anyway that you do realism type stuff too.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference and why?
One of the things that I like drawing is horses for wildlife, like birds and eagles and whatnot. And I miss that. I drew a horse many, many years ago. Back in the year was 2000. And I like to do Clydesdale horses. There's something about horses, they bring a lot of peace. They seem to understand man's spirit or whatever.
Right, yeah. And I had horses till I was about 6, and my dad worked with horses in a couple of different ways. And it actually came up recently. My mother has the painting. I have it as my cover photo on this profile, actually. I don't know, you might be able to pull it up on your cell phone or something, or I could jump tabs. And it was a customer of his that gave it to him. I always thought that they had done it, but they just worked in an art gallery and gifted it to him or whatever. And I recently came in contact with a lady from my hometown. We were talking about it actually, that is also quite an artist. She's going through a lot of family loss and whatever else. The pandemic's still kind of happening in a lot of places quite strongly. But we've been double vaxxed, life goes on, gotta enjoy it, right? Anyway, and she told me something because I said, I don't know if the signature's on the back because I don't see it on the front. And she says, it may even be worked into, like on a leg or hidden, because she wanted her art to precede her. Where if people said, oh, I really like that, who did it, okay, she'd tell them. But otherwise, it wasn't as important as just the art being enjoyed. So, and my mother always used to draw horses quite well, too. And, I kind of find them easy to draw. But,
it's funny, because what's drawing caricatures for corporate events or where we met, I have to draw about 14, 16 people in an hour.
Was it that many? Yeah.
Yeah, so when you draw caricatures, it's instant.
So it's 25 max people, so that was almost half.
Yeah. So when it comes to draw, I have to slow my brain down. It's completely opposite
Let me know if that's
than drawing. Oh, it's excellent. It's completely opposite than drawing a portrait or a horse or realism. So completely opposite of the spectrum, and I have to learn to be patient with myself when I jump from one mindset of caricatures to drawing.
So you do that, like in a session, you go back and forth with them. Interesting.
Yeah, I was just getting so frustrated because I was spoiled drawing caricatures, and now I had to purposely slow down because realism, that takes many, many hours. To draw one person caricature, you're only talking a couple of minutes.
Yeah, this took about 5 minutes or so, maybe less. Yeah, and what do you call it? Yeah, so I don't know. I think that that builds a strength. But at the same time, I think, there's also nothing wrong with saying, I want to do just this today, or just this now, and not doing it that way. So we have a viewer in the corner I want to acknowledge. Do feel free to put a comment and some questions. You can tell that he does videos and does presentations often, right? And he notices when there's somebody there. And then over here we got Engelbert, Philippus, Michael, Constant, and Adrian Audette as well. I don't know if they're still there or not, so the realism and the thing, and up until recently, I don't know if it was your group or something, and when you did that bird too, I didn't know that you did other stuff other than cartoons. And it's good to have that variety and to have both abilities. So I don't know if you really said if you have a preference towards one or the other.
They're both refreshing.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. To slow down, it's nice to do the horses and whatnot and the caricatures. I miss doing that, of course. I could do that forever and a day. It's a nice little ministry God gave me, and that it was just. He says, Alan, I'm good. I want you to draw people. And he says, all I want you to do is put a smile on their faces. And I thought, for ministry,
You're like, I can do that.
yeah, I can do that. I can do that forever and a day. So I picked it up, but I had early successes right when I started. I was approached by the Manitoba Sports Federation, and this is it here.
That helps self-esteem. It's nice to get a start like that.
They asked me, they commissioned me to do, this is the year 2000, I believe it was, Sports Hall of Fame, and there was 12 inductees, so they asked me to draw the portraits of the people. Here we are.
About the Sideen athletes, are you in there?
Yeah, there we are. And so that was...
Was that the one you did, that lady there? I don't know if the camera saw it.
There's a number of them in there, and now they...
So what year was this?
That'd have to be the year 2000, I believe it was. It was right early into my art career, and you'll get that too.
I don't know if you have more than one copy of these.
Oh, I only got a couple of them, but
okay.
So for all you people that think, geez, when people see that you're really skilled in something, they'll come out of the word where people that are skilled enough will recognize you, and they will hire you.
Even just for an insert, that's something,
Yeah, there's.
And I noticed that it doesn't, or probably does somewhere in the write-up, but say your name, but it's not coming out. But yeah.
Yeah, I should have marked it down. There we are. There's a couple more, but.
Oh, you did that one too?
Yeah. There's about 12 of them in there, and they're in the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame for eternity. And
well, that's pretty cool.
For all you people that are stumbling.
You did this one?
Yeah.
I have to tag somebody then and actually I just found out that they have a gig in the area tonight that whoops, that's not the right person, that we're going to go to at that Calypso place down there. And I'm tagging him because he does lawn bowling. And in fact, he's in a lawn bowling magazine himself. And he knows this lady. I think she might be a little bit younger there. I forget, 2001?
Elaine Jones?
Yeah.
Do you know her?
I knew her briefly because I did lawn bowling as well with him. But I don't know if we're connected online or not, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I do know another, but not that one.
So for all of you that think you're working hard and you feel like you're not getting anywhere, please keep at what you're doing. Don't give up. You were given that specific skill set. You will be recognized. Just keep going at it, okay?
That's very important to hear because I can attest to the fact that, it really does take the grind, and it really does, take patience. And like even this, I was thinking I maybe need to refocus some of my goals that weren't really happening, and I thought, but I didn't really want to because it's like I've always liked music and being a healing type person and so I started this book idea, and I got a good start on it, and then I kind of lost focus with it, and then I don't know, publishing is never something I've done before, and I don't even know, like Glenn's offered to help a little bit with it. I don't even know if I could afford to, there's the digital version of it too, right? But then, so I thought, well, maybe I'll work on a holiday CD or whatever. So it's okay to have more than one project, I suppose. It's just, if it's manageable. But, this project, this podcasting with guests is something, as it may have been mentioned in the beginning, it had a really good start. I had about 6 or 7 guests almost every week or every other week. And then a couple months of nothing, and it wasn't because I wasn't necessarily approaching people. It's just everybody is doing different things, and some people are still quite busy people in life, or this and that. But I think I found a niche in it, and because I didn't give up, and actually I had asked you once before, and nothing really came of it. So I guess one day I thought, well, I'll ask again, and here we are. So there's proof in the pudding with that, yeah.
You got to be You got to be persistent, and you cannot give up. You said that you like to publish. Well, I published my own books, and there were 16 books. They were individuals. I had 9,000 of them made.
Those flip books. I haven't
Yeah,
seen those in a while.
you go right ahead. They're step by step, circles, squares, and triangles. That's how I do it. And it shows you how to draw.
Probably better in person.
And
but you get the idea. People have seen those before.
Yeah, it's a very, very simple.
I haven't seen these in ages.
They're fun to do, but you know, perseverance. The first books I didn't sell one; they were a logistic nightmare. So
and it says age 3 to 5, but these days it could be for anyone. Quarantining? No.
Yeah, and I got different. There were 4 different age and grade groups. Instead of selling them separate, I put them into packages, and I had many, many mentors.
2011.
I had about 12 mentors to help me out in all aspects of it. So the first batch of books, 9,000, they didn't sell. I gave 9,001 away. And so one person said, you know what, put them in batches of 4 different age groups. So I did that, and they sold right out. And so I just wanted to say, just always perseverance. Find a niche. If you're an artist, find a niche for yourself. And now when I teach on Facebook, I've taught over the years, I wasn't happy why I got these printed. I came up a lot of books for beginners, they're too advanced, so I came up, I started to teach circles, squares, and triangles.
Won't let me tag your name in the title, so you'll just have to repost it later.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And so I always taught using circles, squares, and triangles, and that's the way I do it on Facebook, that's the way I do it at Artist Emporium, and people learn that way. I learn to recognize, how do you draw, what's the general shapes of a bird? Well, the head is a circle, the body's an oval.
And I remember learning those things in school, and I probably didn't even really piece it together, you know? But, you know, so it can be like abstract almost to a very simplified form can become other things. We got Glenn Harper and Jamie Ward over there. There's somebody been constantly in the corner here, but here it's saying names.
Adrian, Jamie, and Glenn.
Yeah.
How are you guys? I'm so glad you're here with us. I thank you for your time so much.
Both happy to see everybody here.
I had to, you know, I brought in some samples here. We all have transferable skills. I like doing art, caricatures. Well, I was asked to play a cartoon character in a community theater. If you want to find something,
my goodness, he's cooler than I realized he was. You know, I knew he was cool, but he's.
You know, it was really neat. A lady came to me. She says, "I like your voice." She says, I wrote my own play, and it was called Spiky, and Joy is her name. Why don't you come over to my place? Read some lines, and I think you would be good as Coach Bob. So I did it, and I got the opportunity. And community theater, wow, was that fun? We practiced at some place on Pembina Highway. We had to find some place to practice, so we went to a business. They had room enough for...
I remember when I met you, the day we met you, I said you'd make good at Fringe Fest if this pandemic wasn't happening. And I was talking about all the festivals the other day that, you know, yes, there's some virtual stuff happening, which is nice. And I used to volunteer at Fringe Fest for like 12 years or whatever. And yeah, so I mean, you know, you can combine art and theater. I said to Glenn before you got here, I said, is there any songs that are art themed besides Starry, Starry Night? Maybe you could play them. Like I say, there's other artists I might interview as well. And we couldn't think of it. And I thought, well, you know what? Music is art too, though. You know?
Yeah.
It just itself.
and the reason why I brought up the acting is if you're getting bored with what you do, if you're an artist like yourself or a piano teacher or in your artwork, if you're getting bored, the love just isn't there anymore, with the passion isn't there with your art, go into something that's totally different. It's still art. I went into acting. Boy, did it ever... wow, it was just so refreshing. And then I went into...
it speaks to improvising. It speaks to...
It showed me I didn't have a memory for the lines. It was just humbling, and it was when I was meeting great people. So if you find that you're getting really bored with your artwork, go into something totally different. And you'll come back to your true love, your original art, with a lot more passion. You'll rediscover it again. That's happened to me numerous times and whatnot.
Yeah, I must have been a few weeks ago, maybe even almost 2 months ago now. There's a show I kind of get into every now and then called Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I found an interview between the two of them, and one of them's Canadian. I think he's from Toronto, but it might, I don't think it's from Vancouver. And there was an interview, and the one guy, I mean, you see them being goofy on stage and with their acting and stuff, and you don't realize that they actually have profound ideas too. And I don't know if he was connecting it to anything in particular, but the one guy, Brad Sherwood, and actually I found that the profiles for them online, but had said, you know, do what you like, and if it's and if the struggle to achieve it, you know, if you can manage it, great. If it's actually taking from your joy and taking from your, you know, whatever it is, trying to get ahead with it, you know, maybe refocus. And you know, two thoughts come to mind for me with that is, you know, you can do that, but it doesn't mean you can't go back to the other things. And then you kind of made the point of how, you know, you can find things that are similar. Like, oddly, and I've kind of been into the art world, I wouldn't have necessarily thought to think drawing is similar to theater until you mentioned it, you know?
You'll meet so many people. And you know what it is I teach a lot of this on Facebook with my group. Beginners Learn to Draw with Alan Sideen. That's the name of the Facebook group. Beginners Learn to Draw with Alan Sideen.
Usually free, so that's the nice option too.
Yeah, that one's free.
Yeah.
And I'm there for an hour, and people think that they can't draw. This will go back to that. You can draw. It's just the difference between the left brain hemisphere and the right brain, and that's another video there. But you can. They're all transferable skills. You know, anything art with the right brain, poetry, playing piano, drawing. They're all transferable skills. Okay, and
now, I mean, I'm sure people probably know what that means, but just to kind of clarify, because we hear that term when, you know, we're applying for jobs or whatever, and that, and I guess that's kind of what it means. Like, you know, okay, you've got the skill as an artist, so you can transfer that into acting.
You know,
and you're never too old either. You know, sometimes I've approached people about taking music lessons, and they're like, "Oh, I'm too old for that." It's like, well, not really an age stamp on it, but if that's what you feel, you know.
When I started to have my own shop teach in the year 2000, I was working for a large telephone company here in Winnipeg, and people would say, you know what, I'll take your classes when I retired. Well, that was 21 years ago. You know, you don't know what health is going to be like for you.
My mother used to always say she was going to learn piano when she retired, and then she had to go for sick leave and retire early, and she has a piano that's covered and stuff that she never plays, isn't in tune or whatever, and she's still not doing it, but maybe it's because of her health problems and whatever, you know.
So there's
no time
never
like the
too
present.
late. Oh, no time like the present. Don't hesitate. You know, we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow, but you know, folks, just try. Don't live in fear. Just go out.
Especially during this pandemic, you know, kind of good time to discover hobbies, and you know. So both of us, you know, we're approachable, and if you're interested in what we're talking about, approach us. Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
And working with the camera.
And so, you know, I'm sure that you even said some during this. So the no mistakes motto. Are there any others that you've kind of used frequently?
I had them written down. I'm so sorry, but
just any that come to mind. No pressure.
Oh,
that's
here's something. It's okay to make mistakes. When you found your gift, find somebody that's going through hardships. Take them out for a coffee. Hear them out. Give them words of encouragement. You know, especially now. And I was saying that since the year 2000. Well, look at where we are now. People need encouragement like you don't know how. And it's a time for many of you to go out and discover, what did you always want to do? Now is the time, you know, to take that first step. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I have a lady
if
friend.
you choose to.
Chocolate.
You might never forget if you did.
Chocolate elephants are the best, just like
yeah.
those rabbits at Easter. And that goes out to all of the professionals that are very well seasoned in their professional career. They wanted to start something off. I said that to a great friend of mine, Lucy Gable.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about her before. She's a fitness and nutrition lady, right?
And she's into
Anna
leadership.
Lucy
Gable, Gabel. Check her out on YouTube. Really, really nice lady. And she says, Alan, I love what you said about eating an elephant at one time. Like, you got a dream, you want to go for it, it's only one step at a time, folks. Don't be shy. Yeah, it's a huge issue out there. Like, where do we start? How do we go? That's how I did my books. I did 3 things a day from here. I'm going to get so if the starting point was here and I had to finish the books over here, even though it took a year, I always tried to do 3 things a day. That could go out, make 3 phone calls a day, go see my mentors, do 3 things a day. I'm going to challenge you on that, folks. Do 3 things a day.
No pressure, but yeah, I think you know, someone to hold you accountable, someone to there was another word you used that already slipped my mind, are important things, because when I think of that book project, I mean, yeah, it's something I want to do. It's something I enjoy. It's poetry. So one thing I've realized is that because there's no beginning, middle, and end, it's not a story per se, although that'd be interesting to do just a rhyming story. I'm just thinking about now. And I thought, well, maybe I should do a story then. I've made progress, but then I kind of nothing happened. And I thought, well, now I can be formatting, I can be editing, but then I started to think, but I'm having a hard time seeing the finished product. I'm having a hard time thinking, will this actually be published? And, the internet is great, and you can take lots of cool online workshops or do whatever, but, it just sucks you in with all these distractions, right? And not necessarily bad, but when you're trying to do a project, So I like this idea, and I've heard something similar of the, 1 thing, 2 thing, 3 thing, whatever it is, a day or whatever. But sometimes, it's kind of like, what is that thing? Or sometimes you do know, and it's just, you can't push yourself enough to.
No, that's why I say 3 things. Now, I just started to write down my goals again. I hadn't for a long time, and I felt so lost. So my friend Lucy Gable, once again, she says, Alan, go out and get those desk calendars. Those desk calendars you put on your desk. They're very, very big, 3 feet by 2.5, and write down every day your goals. And what you don't do, just transfer it to the next day and do them, okay? Don't become overwhelmed. That's why people have a hard time with goal setting, because you've got too many goals. How do you stay focused? Do 3 a day, okay? Start off, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, but at the end of the year, holy diamond.
Even if they're 3 small things, or like I say, if it's 1 or 2 even, something like that, yeah. But, that was one thing that somebody had suggested to me with the book project was, and we've had a viewer in the corner for a while, so it's good that we're, you're finding interest in this and whatever. And they had said, maybe schedule a time, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit in the evening. And I thought, well, I mean, and I really do. I have the ability, for the most part in my life, compared to some other people's lives, to do that. But it's kind of like, at the same time, every day is different, some days are really nice out and you want to be outside, but then I've also noticed there's been some rainy days and it still doesn't happen, so you can't be too hard on yourself, I guess. But, I just kind of thought, so I won't say a specific time, I'll just say afternoon, evening. Even still, I'm finding that it's been so long since I've followed a schedule, because I haven't been in school, I haven't had a job for a while. I wrote it on a notebook, I put it on top of the microwave, I know it's there, and it just becomes part of everything else that's there,
Yeah.
So, it does work for some people, I would say, and it's all about finding the system that works, I think.
Getting rid of distractions. I could sit in front of YouTube and watch.
Even worse if you have ADHD.
Yeah,
But who doesn't?
It takes a little bit of discipline, folks. But don't beat yourself up, okay? Make it simple. That's why I just said 3 things. Just 3 things a day. There's 365 days in a year. Times that by 3, that's over 1,500 things you accomplished in that 1 year.
And I just had a kind of a neat thought where, for those that are in school, so I guess kids, teenagers, maybe adults too, even if it's not necessarily, like especially for grade school or high school, even if it's not a degree program, because that's a topic too. I mean, you don't have to have a degree necessarily. Some people really have that mindset, but there's many ways to learn, and life is learning, but just the thought, like, say someone's in their school art class and they're doing art, and a lot of us, at least somewhat into our adulthood, probably keep a lot of the art that we do. maybe there's something you can do with that, you know. So you're kind of building. Like I remember in high school art class, we had a big. It was like a folded paper, and we laminated it or whatever, and we designed the front and the back. I'd love to find it, and it was like our portfolio for the art for the class, and that, and so you're even kind of getting your foot in the door, so to speak, with that. And actually, just to my side here, and I showed this in one of my podcasts in one of my groups, I have a book that I did in school, and it was mostly just coloring pages, from coloring books. There's a little bit of art or whatever, and it's huge, but it's laminated, right? And
Bring it over here, Corey.
yeah, I showed it in a podcast a couple months ago, or whatever, and I read it actually too. And yeah, it was, I've been feeling a lot of nostalgia, whether it's going back to trying to find old classmates or been doing some genealogy and that. And this actually I made with a teacher who was really close to someone I lost from cancer, who was actually a youth mentor of mine. So, that's also a really important thing, is finding a mentor, and even teachers in our schools can be that. Like, I don't know how many of us really realize that, some of them really, like, I'm hoping to reconnect with a music therapist, music teacher I had when I was young, I connected in one way, and she said I really only talk to family, but then I had another way I was able to reach her, and I thought I'd really like it if she reconsidered, because she really meant a lot to my musical upbringing, so I'm waiting to find out about that. Another one that comes to mind is I had a cooking teacher who passed away in January, and, I do like cooking. I'm not, I'm certainly not a top chef or anything, but, you don't think about the impact somebody has. You're in their class every day for a year or two, or almost every day. Doesn't matter, 16, 17 years went by, There's something in that. And so having a mentor, because a lot of us, we can have that drive, but if somebody is not saying, so how did you do with this today? Or you said you were going to do this, how did that go? It's like, it's just not there.
We're not meeting the goals, and I need that as an accountability partner, just for that.
Like my spouse, was kind of saying, oh good, we have a comment too. My spouse was kind of saying that like I'm doing this poetry book, and they wanted to put it on Google Docs to just kind of have it organized there or whatever, and it was kind of like, at some time it went by, and then he finally asked, why don't you send me some of them? And I was like, I was dying for you to ask. Like, I don't know why I found it so hard to say, okay, what do I do,
Going back to my drawing books, talking about mentors, I had about 12 people. I want to say hi to Michelle. How are you?
Okay, and then Ron, the discipline you speak of is tough at times. My daughter taught me that all you have to do is commit 3 minutes to your task, and when you do it, it's very hard to walk away from it once you start. Yeah, you get going, and then you find the groove.
You lose the track of time. Remember how I first started learning how to draw? It was the very first night. I thought I'm worth 30 minutes. It went 3 hours. Okay? But going back to mentoring and how I got the drawing books, I always ask the person purposely, Jane, for an example, I'm looking for a mentor for this, that, and the other thing. I don't want you to answer me now, but how about if I come back in about 10 days or 3 weeks, 10 days, give me an answer, yes or no. And the reason why you give them time is if you ask them to make a decision right there on the spot, you sort of caught them off guard, they're going to say no. Mm-hmm. Automatically no. But if you give them time to think about it, 10 days, 7 days, then they're going to say, geez, that was really nice. Al asked me to be a mentor. I'm just curious, how can I help Al become better at this and that? So if you're looking for a mentor, go up, explain yourself to them, ask them to be a mentor, but explain to them directly, I don't want an answer from you right now. Can I phone you in 7 to 10 days?
I think sometimes too, not necessarily always, and sometimes maybe it's both, but I just had the realization that, maybe you're approaching someone as a client that is maybe meant to be a mentor. Because everybody has something to teach. I think it's really kind of nice, Ron, and if you don't mind, maybe I'll even do a little short plug about you, that, your daughter, I don't know how old she would have been at that time or whatever, it wasn't the father teaching the daughter; it was the daughter teaching the father something. Like I say, everybody has something to teach. Ron is, as I was mentioning as we were coming upstairs, the artist from my hometown in Ontario. And I was telling Glenn that his studio was just down the street from where we used to live. I didn't go to it a ton. His wife does the framing. And I would say check him out if you want. He seems to do some online workshops as well. I just kind of recently reconnected with you, so I don't know, a lot. But, one thing I always remembered is, I don't know if you've heard of the Blues Brothers.
Yes.
But he has a painting of the Blues Brothers, and I came across that in somebody else's photos, and I thought, I remember who did that painting. And then, and then it was just a very artsy week, because I was talking to you, and Miss Bo's got some art in the mail, and, so, yeah, anyway, sorry, but I'm not sure if I can move on. I did wonder if you might like to do a short, can give you a book or something to, yeah, you brought books with you, of course. And maybe, sometimes too, although maybe it's not as doable these days, but, there's various ways to do it. Sometimes just having the person sitting beside you and doing it along, yes, the videos are good, but like I say, this is what we're doing right now. We're focused to do this, and there's not other things. Also we're podcasting, so we better be at least, for the most part, focused, right? But yeah, so what would you like to? And we've got Michelle. Looks like she's actively here on one, and Ron on the other. And it's funny, it had been so many years, and I was like, what was that artist in Essex's first name? I think it was Ron. I looked him up. I was right. But so what would you like to instruct with us here? He's already got a head start, so I need.
Yeah, I'm just drawing our buddy here.
Huh? I'm
just drawing Corey here.
Oh.
Yeah. It's funny about...
I still don't have teeth. No, I was kidding. Not yet.
There was... I was doing portraitures, and then I went to the local art store, and I bought one product, and it was a brush pen.
So many neat products like that.
Yeah. It changed my art career.
I saw your drawing recently with the... I don't remember exactly how it looked, but the brush that had a face on it.
Yeah, and so... It's interesting because there could be one tool, maybe you're a mechanic, and you'll pick up one tool you never had before in some supply store, and it could change your tool, and it can change your career, say from fixing just...
oh, we got Glenn
fronts.
Here too.
Hey Glenn.
Hi Glenn, in the other room.
Hi back to Michelle, so good to see you.
And if you have any questions or thoughts, don't be shy to put them.
So that one pen I had to bring up, maybe if there's an item that you picked up, that could actually change your career. So instead of fixing...
I'll have to show you the room next door that Glenn's in at some point, because he's got some very tiny colored pencils. He's got quite a array of stuff.
And yeah, it's a pan flute is what he does. I'm just hacking around right here, now.
Remind us to show you the gold. You were standing in front of it earlier, but I didn't point out the gold leaf painting.
So what I'm doing is sort of just a very fast cartoon here. There's lots of different, very cartoonish, or caricature, or just different formats of drawing somebody. And this is just off the top. Here you go, Mr. Corey. But it's all fun, eh? There you go, my friend.
Oh yeah, a bit more realism. Oh, cool. I like my cheekbones. I could model with those things. I tried to draw a horse and it just really quickly it didn't. But yeah. Speaking of horses, though, another thing that kind of... So yeah, I'll show you my cover photo at some point. And I remember when we were in Ontario, we actually bought a horse painting for someone and gave to them. It was too big to travel with, but that gold leaf thing that we got, it came with a nice fabric case, and I'm not sure if you know what the case is, but at one time I often drew horses is when I used to sometimes, haven't really lately, go to the Montana's restaurant, and they would put those papers down with the crayons or whatever, and yeah, you're in a country-themed place, you draw a horse, right?
Yeah, that'd do good. What else do I got? I was really, as an artist, there's a number of ways to market. I got some items here, folks. I'm going to be on the camera. Sorry, just bear with me. But I brought a number of things. Now, one of the things that I did as an artist is I made a wall calendar, and I found out who hires
You've reached
me.
such great achievements. You really have.
Yeah, it just keeps going on slowly but surely. But I found out who was the people hiring me with corporate functions, and they were the HR people. So I made a wall calendar, and it would last throughout the entire year. Let me get it over there. And so I would put down what I do. I do weddings, customer, whatever, wedding, window signs, high school grads. So this would be on the
tell us
desk.
about the events.
Yeah. So what do we got?
The only thing I don't like about those calendars is there's not much space to write anything in.
No,
no,
there isn't.
But they're cool anyway.
and this was a way that I marketed myself.
Close up.
Yeah, please do. So when I was out on holidays, I would go to the industrial parks here in Winnipeg and visit the companies, and I would give a couple of them out, and that's how I
It's
got
a really
business.
nice paper too.
Yeah, you keep that, my friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you keep that. And then it was always finding niche markets. So then one Christmas, a couple of years ago, I came up and I started to do customized Christmas cards for companies. This one here, where is it? This is for Winnipeg Dam Proofing. They had about 4 employees, or 5, and so I drew their employees, and then on the back they would go on Merry Christmas, and so on. This one was for a truck company here in Winnipeg. This was a sales rep, actually, the owner, a young man who sold highway trucks. And this would be Aspen Truck Sales here in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And a little bit of information on his back, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. So there's different ways that you can market yourself. You have to find those ways will work for you. So it's not always on Facebook.
You know what I just realized about this, sorry to interrupt, is that it's almost like, it's got a kind of a glossy, sticky finish, but it's almost like a giant business card. And I just really noticed the power in you giving this to me, because even though I complained about, or complain might not be the word, but about the type of calendars, I don't really even use calendars, but I remember I used to get them every year, even just for the photographs in them or whatever. You know, it reminds me of, and perhaps others, of things we can do to find success. And you can put it on your wall and say, oh yeah, these are all the possible things I could do. Signs for windows, high school grads, whether you're an artist or a music, hopefully in whatever field one chooses, they could find something similar to do in this. Christmas corporate dinners, some of the pandemic may affect some of these things. Customer appreciation events, weddings. I recently was hearing something about being a funeral singer, and I'd always kind of thought, I wonder about that. And it's one of those things, you kind of mixed feelings about. Of course, if it's someone it's a nice way to tribute. But so yeah, I really think that there's a power maybe even neither of us realizes when you said, have this in this. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's what our art is for. Is when you're an artist.
I'm not going to make any promises, but I will try.
Because us artists, we give our heart away. And that's where the term comes with the starving artist. But I know, the Lord's Prayer says God gives us our daily bread, and things keep going. I got some items in here. It's a gift from me to you.
Oh, another one.
Of course. And
I wouldn't mind if you do have a few copies of that, and you're able to spare that one magazine. Take a look maybe, and yeah, I'd be interested. Oh wow! Yeah, like I say, he's very successful. He's got his name on everything, and this would be nice for the winter. It's very cute too. So we got that too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did not expect gifts.
Now that one there, I was approached by a ministry down in Winnipeg here to draw cartoons of the New Testament, and they gave me 32 verses. I did the 32. Yeah, and it was very simple. And that's yours. The drawings aren't in that particular version, but anyways, I just thought I'd give that to you. But
so okay.
Yeah, that's not the actual version where my drawings are in, but anyways, I just thought I'd give you that.
You could send me some of them or whatever.
Yeah.
Photos of them or whatever.
So you never know who recognizes you in your gifting. I can't get much higher than having my drawings in the Bible.
Yeah, right.
That just caught me right. I do have goals, and I gotta say, I want to do drawings for a particular. It's called the Good News Bible. And that's where, they here in Winnipeg, it was the ministry. They said we tried to get the artist out of that particular Bible version, the Good News. We couldn't find her, or the copyrights, whatever the case. Would you mind doing the drawings? I said, yeah, I'd be very happy.
You could even find some of these online too. I do so much online these days.
Yeah, it is good. And then I want to submit. Now, I want to talk about, this is a story about the second book I want to do drawings for. It'd be Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's my goal.
I used to like those. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So many different ones. Very inspiring short stories.
And it's funny you say that, because when I teach Tuesday night for Artists Important, there's a young lady there. She's an editor of a publishing company here in Winnipeg. So I wrote her an email. I says, well, how do I go and promote myself to those 2 publications? She was so kind to answer me back. This is how you do it, and this is how I suggest, Alan, that you go about doing it. So you never know who we meet. Just think, people, with your gifting that you were given, you never know who you will meet. And when you develop your skills, like I told you earlier, right at the get-go, do you see a man or woman skilled in their arts or crafts? They will serve the 4 kings and queens. They will not serve the 4 obscure men or women. Okay, so develop your skills. You will, in due time, that happened to me. It was back about 10 years
Something
ago.
to recognize in both of those,
It was really neat. Because I just showed you my little wee books, and they were printed. And anyways, there was a gentleman who phoned me up. Do you mind, Alan, teaching my youngster how to draw? And I says, yeah, be happy to. So I was always curious. I said, sir, how did you find me? And he says, well, my brother-in-law works for the local newspaper, and he found your books at Toad Hall Toy Store here in Winnipeg.
Maybe something too where these envelopes are bookmarked. There might be something on those pages to zero in on.
That's okay. So I says, oh, okay. And I never thought about it. His name was Brad Oswald, I believe his name was. And he bought the books as a gift for this young boy. Well, anyways, we set a date. We were to meet at the local library in South Winnipeg. And I saw the little boy, and I look up, he was holding his mom's hand. And I recognized the mother, and it was Teresa Oswald. Now, Teresa, you may not know her, but at that time, she was the healthcare minister of the provincial government at that time. So you see, you find and develop your skills, you will be noticed by kings and queens. Teresa was in a high-ranking position. She was a minister for our provincial government, and I got recognized by her. Oh, she moved on. Governments changed. Teresa went.
Sometimes that's a good thing, but yeah.
So please, there's a lot of you that are struggling out there. Don't give up. Keep focused. Do 3 things a day. Okay? And that's one thing. God gave me a beautiful ministry. When I'm sitting down in front of people, I meet all sorts of people coming from. And what I like about doing the caricatures, depending on the event, depending how busy it is, I can take my time chatting up with people, asking what do they do, where are they from, and I can get to know them quite well. And it's a good time for me to do ministry work, and talk to them a little bit about their walk or whatever the case, and get to know the Lord. And it's just an awesome, awesome feeling. And you are too, okay? Never give up on yourselves. You're worth everything.
And I had a realization too that just now, I don't know how it came, but that sometimes maybe we're making progress when we don't realize we are.
Wow. That is an excellent point. Until you sit back and say, gee, I did a lot today, or I did a lot all week, or an unexpected phone call. Hey, Corey, I understand you're doing this. I think I can help you out. Or just like that young lady, the editor, that's a student in my art class. I asked her, and she came back. What she told me was gold nuggets. There's a young boy in my art class Tuesday nights, and he is just doing fantastic. Can you imagine that woman, that lady, that editor here in Winnipeg? She was giving wisdom to that young boy. That young boy would never have found wisdom. It was just through an art class. So you never know who we meet. The next person that you meet could be your next employer. You got all these people that work at Burger King, McDonald's, whatever the case. When they're serving somebody over the counter, they could be meeting their next employer.
That's powerful.
Okay? So
and maybe really wanting that to happen in their life. I've heard, whether it's with the book project or whatever, and I thankfully don't usually struggle quite to this point, but some do. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed is the success of the day. But, you got to count the small things because they add up. The sun is shining, things like that. And, one thing I remember when we met you, and I think I made a post at the time too, is when you said something about our music is our blessing and our gift to the world. It's so strange. Yes, we get appreciation, but I really needed to hear something like that because it just was that validation, that recognition that what we're doing is making an impact. It's working. I may think that I'm not successful. I am.
Very good. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, so, that's what, we gotta, like you say, be there to encourage each other and try and help when we can. We may think, well, we can't, we don't have those kind of powers to help or whatever, but maybe we do. I mean, some people say, well, you can't help others until you help yourself. Well, I've been in a rut, but you know what? I can help you promote your abilities and whatever. Helping others can help yourself.
Just by giving a sincere compliment. And I'm not saying mislead people by being insincere or, lack of better words, BSing somebody. No, you say it with sincere. We all need help. We all got gifts.
At some point in our life, we all do. Yeah.
Especially right now during the times that we live in. All it takes is just one. We don't know what's going in the mindset of that person. But just think, all you got to do is say, you know what, sir, that's a really nice looking tile. Or a lady, I like the scarf that you got. That one sentence can change a person's life around in an instant. So
because maybe there's so many people saying, well, what are you doing wearing a goofy tie like that?
Yeah.
Or,
You just got to be so careful. But some of us, we just need that, just one compliment to get us over the hump. And if we have a hard time getting out of bed, it's one foot in front of the other. This is the day the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Go outside and listen to the birds singing. You will recognize the Holy Spirit.
There's always something
for you.
Regardless of how you look at it. Yeah.
There's always something will pop up immediately. I know when I open up the Word, bingo, I don't know how many times this has happened to me. I would open up the Word and it's always the first sentence, the first verse, bang, right in front of my face. It's just amazing. It's just the Holy Spirit showing you where to go. And we all got talents. And there's so many of you that are ready to bloom. You don't know how to do it.
I wish that, I think it's Ron that's been here for most of the time. I don't know who's still here. But, and that's something I like doing is helping people find those kind of things too. Like, I know I mentioned when we started that I had tagged some certain people that I've done these with in the past or that just came to mind. And, Esme is quite a good artist with these card things that she designed. She's also a talented harp player. She also has a basement full of harp kits, and if you can pick them up, she's in Kenora. She would love to be doing workshops. Sarah, I don't know very well, but I just discovered last night that she plays the cello and sings at the same time. I have to look at that video later. Diane's a special education teacher. That's powerful. Ron, we've covered, just saying what first comes to mind. Svetlana, haven't known her that long. She does puppetry, actually, I realized, which is pretty cool. And I think she's just generally a supportive person, which is important, as we say. Patricia's a teacher and a writer, and yeah. So we've all got something. Some of us have recognized it. Some of us haven't. Some of us haven't recognized to its full potential what we have. Unfortunately, because this is under Glenn's, there's some people that I don't know as well. But yeah, anyway, we do want to kind of maybe show Alan a little bit more around the house here, maybe show him the shop we have, and then let him get about his day. But we did just have one other comment come in, which is I had a piece of my art that was sent directly to the Pope Are you serious? In the Vatican. But the most important thing to me was that we had an opportunity for 2,300 local children to send their personal greetings to the Pope. You're 100% correct. I know that these things last a lifetime for them, so that's really powerful.
Yeah, and Oral Roberts had a beautiful saying, and he says, you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you never count the number of apples in a seed. So folks, just you giving away
Planting
your card,
the seeds.
bingo, or some of you singers out there, Corey, you just mentioned there's a lady that does singing. You know, you could be singing in a cafe, and there's some youngster that's remembering you.
And I just kind of thought, too, some people may say, whether it's, oh, I've never seen anybody sing and play this instrument at the same time, or I've never seen anybody do this genre on this instrument. So what? Be the first.
Yeah, and you never know, because of your kindness and giving them encouragement and them seeing you, even talking with them. I mentioned a lady, Lucy Gable, and she was in college at one time, and she always admired her instructor. Well, years later, which is now, she met her instructor, Lucy did, and Lucy is getting very well high in the rankings in her industry, and the instructor paid a compliment to her. And isn't that awesome?
Mm-hmm.
And so you never know how you are. Sometimes we have to see ourselves through other people's eyes. We're very hard on ourselves, and sometimes we think we're not getting anywhere in this world, that we degrade ourselves. We're all like that.
And then it's cool, because then we can kind of reconnect with the teacher and say, look what,
That's happened to me a number of times.
I'd have to think if it's happened to me. But, and, kind of to some of those examples we were just speaking of, is just kind of, the thing where, yes, the conversation is great. Yes, collaborating is great. But I'm sure that there are lots of times, a lot of them probably pass us by, where somebody does something, whether it's TED Talks or musical performance or whatever it is, and it's kind of like, there are, for instance, TED Talks. There's lots of great ones out there. I get into a mode sometimes when I'm watching them, and there's even ones about why, which is, I don't remember a lot from them, but why TED Talks don't bring success or whatever. But of course, maybe they do. But, there's always going to be something that stands out. And it's like, I need to watch that again. I need to process that again. There's something there, But even just something like hearing somebody do a song that speaks to you. Or just seeing how somebody lives their life, maybe.
Yeah, how they conduct themselves.
This has been very powerful, very kind of brought to mind a lot of things that maybe sometimes we forget, as we're going about our days.
I met my friend Lucy. I keep mentioning her because she's...
You have to tag her when you share this on your post.
Yeah, if I may. But
sure.
I met Lucy about a year and a half ago through Brainstorm mastermind groups.
I thought you were going to say brain surgery. Thankfully not.
And you'll just love Lucy. Watch her.
I love Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy, Gabel. And got to see her. And I prophesized over Lucy. I says, there's two people that are going to hire you. And I don't know if she really believed me, but when you're, we all have to see ourselves through other people's eyes, because I see Lucy, and how come me personally, I'm great at promoting other people, but I'm not good at promoting me. And I'm sure Lucy's the same, and the other people.
But I think you've gained that skill, because just talking with you today and even other times, I think that every time you do a video, you're not only helping people, but you're growing too,
Yeah, it's so and we don't recognize it. We're very hard on ourselves, But I just enjoy promoting other people, and so there I am.
And there are so many people, and it's good to have a discussion about it first with the person, but there are definitely people that are looking for that, and they just don't know how to do it themselves,
Well, look at the editor that's a student in our art class. Young lady, an editor, and I asked her, wow, what are the chances of me getting that kind of information?
You haven't touched your coffee at all. I'll have to heat it up for you.
No, sorry.
That's okay.
But anyways, I could talk forever, but...
But yeah, so anyway, feel free to keep the conversation going underneath. And again, this is Alan Sideen, and yeah, I'm definitely glad that we've met because we're inspiring each other and encouraging each other, and like we say, that's very powerful. And when I planned to do this today, I didn't realize that it was going to become such a um, what do you call it? Like so much encouragement and so much you know powerful messages. It's almost like we wrote our own art Bible doing this, right? So, hopefully people got something from that. And you take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Alrighty.
That's pretty good.
That was good, yeah.